All right, everybody, and welcome back to Show Choir Nation. This is the flagship podcast of the Home Room Show Choir Podcast Network. I'm your host, William. To my right is Ethan, and below me is Ava. Ava, you are a returning guest this week, so I'll toss it to you first. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. Still a little bit confused from this weekend. I feel like a lot happened. I was at Walky, and it just from top to bottom was a really crazy night, but I'm doing good.
And Ethan and I, for some of the more sports ball inclined people, it is college football championship night. And so we have Notre Dame and Ohio State playing. And so against my better use of time, I looked through the rosters and looked at which show choir schools have players represented in the college football championship.
I love this, Will. What a great segment.
So from Notre Dame, we have players from Omaha Burke, West Des Moines Valley, 2 from Omaha West Side, Mentor, Hannibal, Bishop Hendricken, and Lawrenceburg. So some of the show choir programs represented on the Notre Dame football roster. And for Ohio State, Pike Road, New Haven, Carlsbad, Medina, Marysville, Olentangy, Findlay, Lawrence Central, New Palestine, Beech Grove, Helix, and Center Grove. Players from those schools are all represented on the Ohio State roster. So nice. Plenty of show choir representation in tonight's college football championship game.
Who do you got tonight, Will? Who do you got tonight? Notre Dame, Ohio State. Who you got?
I just feel like the momentum's been with Notre Dame. I can't really put a finger on like a tangible thing, but I got to go with the Irish.
I can't go against that either, but I mean, got to root for the Big Ten. Big Ten all the way.
No, you actually don't. That one is.
No, the reason is because Illinois would play back-to-back Big Ten, or not Big Ten, national champions at home back-to-back years if Ohio State could pull this off. So I just want that game to be electric next year. So that's my purpose.
All right. And as always, as we run through the show, if you have any questions or any comments about what we are covering, feel free to put them in the chat and we will try to touch on them. We have a really packed show sheet tonight, so just getting out in advance, we're not going to be able to take questions off of kind of unrelated topics. But if you have any questions on what we're covering or any comments or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll get some conversation going. Boy, we had a lot happen last week. A lot of things that just happened and me when results happen and just moments. So we'll dive right into the first moment, which was the Beaver Creek Midwest Classic. The results of this one: Solon Music in Motion, grand champion, best vocals, best choreography. Noblesville NHS Singers, first runner-up. Grove City Touch of Class, second runner-up. Piqua The Company, third runner-up and best band. Loveland by Request, fourth runner-up. Olentangy Keynotes, fifth runner-up. The headliner is Solon. Red hot last year, clearly still red hot this year. Coming out on top of Noblesville, which was a show choir nationals finalist last year, as well as a ton of in-state rivals that they will be seeing a bunch this year. Ethan, is Solon the big story for you? Is someone else the big story for you? Who had the biggest story coming out of Beaver Creek?
No, yeah. So just starting off with Solon, I mean, we've said this multiple times, but I feel like Ohio is almost a state about runs, yearly runs, as of right now. I mean, the most consistent you think of are Marysville, Findlay. You could definitely throw Loveland into that category as well. But as of late in the 2010s, it's Piqua, it's ETC, and now Solon is joining that conversation with how strong they've started the past 2-3 years. So they definitely are on the rise. Got to give a shout out to Noblesville going into enemy territory where you are the only group at like a regional competition. It's so hard. You're going there, you really don't know what to expect, but they placed second here, which is outstanding. I had belief in Grove City coming into this, matter of fact. I actually had them in second. So them getting top 3 here, I feel like you made your supporters proud, Grove City. I'm a Grove City supporter, I guess you could say. So shout out to them for making podium. Crazy stat, this is Piqua's lowest placement since 2020. When I found that out, I was like, that's actually insane.
I mean, it's Loveland's lowest placement since 2019.
Well, yes, but honestly, I honestly didn't expect them to ever be that low unless it was at a national competition. Piqua, I feel like at least in my head, I'm not from Ohio, so it's kind of different. Like they kind of just jumped on the scene to me in these recent years, and the fact that they haven't placed this low since 2020 means this was probably a really good competition. We mentioned it last show. This could be Ohio's best of the whole year, which is kind of sad because it's already over, and you would rather see these groups at their best than at their beginning. But we'll see. It's a long season. And then just touching on Loveland, they fell 2 spots in finals. They were 3rd place going into or after prelims. They were 5th place afterwards. I don't know. I really don't know what to say. From an outsider's perspective, it kind of looks like they shoot themselves in the foot, which you can't do at a competition like this because Piqua and Grove City are no slouches. Again, it's the first competition, so everything is new. You always have those few mistakes that you wouldn't have in the middle of the year. So I feel like this is a great experience for them to learn from and get better from. So, those are my takeaways from Beaver Creek.
Ava, did you see that there was a set at Beaver Creek that included the song Baby Shark?
I did not. I saw something about it in the show sheet, but I was a little bit confused. But what's that about?
I was about to ask the same, Will. I saw people talking about it. So what do they actually do? Baby Shark?
So Noblesville, fresh off a very entertaining Back to the Future show last year. I did not watch their show live, but I saw one of my friends sent a very emphatic message about Noblesville doing the song Baby Shark, which if you're a babysitter or anything like that is it's certainly still one of the most in vogue songs among those in the 2 to 5 year old age range. So at some point this year, I'll have to watch a video of Noblesville's show. And just touching on Noblesville one more time, that was a spectacular result for them. I think a lot of people get very territorial, and rightly so, about kind of where everyone places and Ohio's best is better than Indiana's best or this or that or whatever. But Noblesville coming in and starting off the season earlier than literally any of the other big groups in Indiana. They were the only big group in Indiana going out this weekend, besides maybe Chesterton, and still going out and placing second. They placed 3rd at this competition a year ago, and really showing that even though a lot of people say Noblesville's like 9th or 10th best in Indiana, that they cleaned out a bunch of the Ohio favorites. Moving along to Nebraska, we have the Gretna Prime Time final results here. Grand champion, best vocals and best choreography, Gretna East Equinox. First runner-up, best band, Papillion La Vista South Titanium. Second runner-up, Elkhorn South Blackout. Third runner-up, Hastings Riverside Company. Fourth runner-up, Millard North Infinity. Fifth runner-up, Omaha South, the Ambassadors. People take moments of silence when people die, but obviously no one died here. But I feel like we need to just take a moment and hold some space for Gretna East Equinox.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it might be too early, Will. I hate jumping on trains way too early. It's the first comp of the year for some of these groups. And I mean, but I guess that makes it even more impressive for Gretna East. It's their first comp of the year. They're giving me kind of Walky Northwest EOS vibe with how fast they came onto the scene. But I'm pretty sure Gretna East has like 700 less kids in the school to pick from. So there's that. And just looking back at last year for Gretna East, like their last comp, I had to look it up. At their last comp last year, they had 4th place in Tier 2. Second place overall at that competition was Norse Gold, who didn't make finals at this competition. So it's just like the drastic change that happened with no comps in between, just one off season is insane to me. Like how much of stuff just flips like that. The Wallaces, Nathan Wallace deserves a ton of credit for turning that around just in one comp. Or I can't believe we're saying turn around in one comp. But yeah, everyone else here was great too. I mean, great start for Papio South. They were middle of the pack last season, so them starting off kind of hot here is pretty good. Elkhorn South has now have 5 consecutive 3rd place placements to start a season. So next season, when I make my predictions next year, please remind me of that. I need to start getting some placements right. So I just, if you're a betting man, you look at previous stuff, you look at history. So that's just a mental note. Hastings will be okay. I'm not really worried about Hastings. You get out the gate slow. It is what it is. I believe they're the group that is doing Are they doing the Sandlot show this year? I think they are.
I don't know for sure.
Who is it?
I don't know for sure.
Well, I think they're doing a Sandlot show. Oh no, wait, that's Urbandale. I think Urbandale is doing a Sandlot show. Oh no,
Urbandale's doing Home Alone.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, there's so many creative themes this year. I'm just losing it. So yes, I believe Hastings is the Sandlot show. They'll be fine. Millard North was a low placement after a fantastic season last year, but they have a great opportunity this upcoming week to show that they can bounce back real fast. And then kudos to Omaha South. I mean, that must have been tight between those last three groups of Omaha South, Norris, and Sioux Falls, Roosevelt.
We do have confirmation from the chat that it is Hastings with the Sandlot show this year.
Not crazy.
Noted ball knowers over at Hastings Riverside Company. Ava, not necessarily any Iowa groups here, but I think just looking at the mix of groups who are here and looking at those perennial powerhouses like Papio South, like Elkhorn South, like Millard North, that Equinox just vaulted all the way on top of. With all due respect to Walky Northwest, I think the first competition they won was Vermilion, which is still it's a competition, but I certainly don't think that first win came against a handful of groups that you consider region mainstays. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I certainly have not. I mean, considering it's only their second year as a program and considering the year they had last year where they weren't even in the Tier 1 division, I think it's almost unreal how quickly they were able to shoot up to the top, and it'll be really interesting to see if they can continue to stay up there. And I don't know if they'll see any of these groups later in the season, but I definitely will be looking to see if they can keep on top of Papio South and even Millard North. Millard North didn't place as high at this competition, but I do know that historically they do really well. And so, yeah, I just think it's super great, nothing I've ever seen before, and it will definitely be interesting to see if they can stay on top or if this was just a one-off and they had a really lucky first competition.
So Equinox will see Papio South, Elkhorn South, and Norris in 2 weeks at Lincoln East. So I am sure that if you are Papio South or you are Elkhorn South, you are absolutely smacking your lips. I mean, like, okay, what changes do we need to make? How much more do we need to rehearse that we can even the score? Because the very interesting thing here is just how badly I think everyone in general felt after their predictions. It just totally fell flat to what the results were. And I think that's the beauty of having such a tremendously deep scene. And we were talking about the same thing with Beaver Creek. It's kind of like, put these groups in a blender and whatever way they place. Papio South was a group that I think a lot of people felt were kind of losing the limelight a little bit last year. And Elkhorn South, I think they got bested really closely a couple times that kept them from taking, I think, what would have been perhaps a couple of marquee wins last year. And so if you look at 2 and 3, they were groups that perhaps weren't as successful last year as compared to Hastings, who was the only group to take a caption off of Gretna last year. But yet Hastings is the group that winds up in 4th place here. And like Ethan said, I don't think that's an indictment of Riverside Company at all. In fact, I think kind of a theory of mine that I've been growing into over time is that the best shows maybe don't place as well right at the start of the year, but they grow to their full potential and they peak right when the competition is toughest at the end of the year, assuming you go to a really hard end of the year competition.
Yeah, no doubt, Will. You do not want to plateau too early. You don't want to get into the things of, you're kind of coasting and then you get so used to it and then you just plateau. I've seen so many fantastic shows and groups do that. So, I mean, the fact that they have the opportunity to work up is honestly phenomenal. You want to grow. You want to get better. So, yeah, you are exactly right, Will.
So that's just kind of a closing thought about the Gretna Prime Time results. I think Gretna East, I mean, if they beat Papio South and Elkhorn South right now, obviously the question is, where do you draw the line in terms of where do they stop winning? Where do they stop winning is probably not this weekend. So this weekend, they will be going to Central Nebraska for the Hastings Tiger Clash. Their competition there is Grand Island, Norris, Elkhorn North, Millard South, Wahoo, among others. Again, obviously anything can happen. Millard South looked incredible. We're not going to talk about Ralston, but Millard South, new director this year, second place finish at Ralston. Huge for them. Elkhorn North is looking as sporty as they have ever been in their program history. Norris is a group that is dangerous when good, and Grand Island, you can never count them out as well. So, is a win a sure thing? No, but is a win absolutely a possible and maybe even a probable thing? Yeah, it also is. So we're going to move on to Iowa now. And another result at the top that left more than a few people kind of questioning their predictions. And this one was the Linmar Supernova Grand Champion, Best Vocals and Best Choreography, Walky Northwest EOS. First runner-up, Johnston Innovation. Second runner-up, Cedar Rapids Kennedy Happiness, Inc. Third runner-up, Iowa City High, Fourth Avenue Jazz Company with Best Band. Fourth runner-up, Prairie, The Ambassadors. Fifth runner-up, Johnston Synergy. Ava, I believe that when we did predictions for this last week, you absolutely cleaned Ethan and I out on how accurate your prediction was.
Yeah, I got 3 out of 6, which the middle is sometimes at the beginning of the season kind of hard to say exactly how they'll go, but I do think that Walky Northwest having a competition under their belt definitely gave them the advantage over Johnston. Both of the groups are really, really good, and they're really, really good at different things. So at the end of the day, it really just comes down to who's really on that day and what the judges prefer, because in 2 very different shows, you have lots of different opinions about which one is more show choir and which one is better, which is super, super subjective. But I did also put Johnston Synergy in finals. I think that they're a phenomenal prep group, if you can even still consider them a prep group. They compete in the prep division, but they might as well join Innovation in the varsity division. Like they are super good, and they're really good at what they do, and they're consistently really good at what they do. So kudos to them for beating out a couple varsity groups, as they so often do. But yeah, I was only able to find videos of the Johnston shows from last weekend, and they were both really great. I really think it could have gone either way, and maybe next month when they see each other at Urbandale, it will go the other way. That will be really interesting to see. But I also wasn't expecting a caption suite for the 2 major captions for either group. I definitely thought it would have been split. But they have very different choreography styles and very different distinct vocal styles. I really like Walky Northwest's vocal style, but you can't count out that Johnston just has a really good traditional tone and are just exceptional. So yeah, I did predict that one, but maybe I'm just biased.
Yeah, I think the point that you bring up about Johnston Synergy perhaps not even being called a prep group anymore, Iowa's seen that before. For a long time when Eternal Rush was the second choir in the Ankeny Centennial Department, Eternal Rush would compete up in the 4A division for a chance at a final spot, depending on what the competition's rules were for prep groups weren't eligible for finals or whatever. And I think going all the way down the line to Johnston, even to Sound Advice, which I believe is a 9th grade choir. So I don't know if you can thoroughly call it a middle school choir, when in some other parts of the country it would be called the freshman choir, similar to what Pleasant Hill did for a while, or what Madison Central does right now. But that whole Johnston program, they really pushed the bar for whatever division they're in. Something that I thought was interesting is that we saw an appearance from Jay Rixner, who won Best Male Soloist for Johnston Innovation. He rose to fame in the Iowa area as a multi-time Best Soloist winner for Indianola Side 1 in 2023. And now here he is making an appearance for Johnston Innovation 2025. So not sure what the details are there. It was interesting to see a familiar face from a different choir pop up in the soloist caption. But something else that I want to bring up about this one, and Ethan, I'll toss this to you in a little bit, is that perhaps this is the Iowa City High redemption arc. You know, I spent a lot of time talking about how good City High was before their first competition of the year. Kind of took it on the chin a little bit at Muscatine, but now they are back. They are swiping best band awards away from phenomenal programs. They beat Prairie, who they were 3 spots behind the week before. Perhaps this is the Fourth Avenue Jazz Company comeback tour. Ethan, anything about groups we haven't talked about yet? Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, Prairie, or perhaps even the groups that missed finals here?
No, yeah, for sure. And just backtracking just a tiny bit, when this Jay Rickner, how the transfer portal is crazy. Of course, we're talking about the transfer portal on the college football national championship. You guys gotta know what the NIL is. I gotta know what it is. I'm just playing, but
dude, you can't make allegations like that, man. That's for legal reasons. That was a joke.
No, it's such a joke. Yes. No, yeah, you guys touched on a lot. I think EOS was very hungry after being swept. There is something about having a competition beforehand going in, and I think it plays both ways because Johnston, this was their first comp. EOS had a comp. And of course, I think they were hungry for this win. I think they really wanted this one. But the same kind of goes for like some other groups here. They also competed twice, like you said, Iowa City, Prairie got a win, and they ended up in 5th here. So this was a very strong lineup. And then, of course, sad to see Cedar Rapids, Washington final streak end at 54 comps. That's insane. Going all the way back to the Supernova at Linmar in 2011. So that's a tough pill to swallow, but I mean, only up from here. And this was a great competition. So you can't really be shooting yourself. So.
And the interesting part about the momentum final streak being snapped is that this was a competition where ordinal consensus was used to determine the finalist groups and not raw points. So the ordinal consensus had among the 3 judges, Johnston Synergy had a first place vote, Cedar Rapids Jefferson had a first place vote, and Cedar Rapids Washington had a first place vote for 6th place. But then the first tiebreaker was sum of ranks, and each of those sum of ranks wound up being 21 because each of those groups had 6, 7, and 8 rankings by the judges. So then the second tiebreaker was total points, and that went to Johnston Synergy just a hair. And then Cedar Rapids Jefferson, then even though it's all for kicks and giggles, Cedar Rapids Jefferson points-wise made just like 1.5 points above Cedar Rapids Washington as well. So maybe Happiness Inc. Going above and beyond for the Cedar Rapids Public Schools, but Washington and Jefferson, don't know if they're going to see each other again this year, but certainly another chapter of a historic rivalry there. We'll move on to the Walky Star Struck event now. This will be the final comp that we will review. Saw something about Northwest Rankin Music Fest. No placements there, only captions, so not a ton for us to talk about for that one. But the results of the Walky Star Struck event, Ankeny Centennial Spectrum, Grand Champion, Best Vocals and Best Choreography. Indianola side 1, 2nd place. Valley Correlation, 3rd place and Best Band. Ankeny Centennial Vortex, 4th place. Urbandale Studio, 5th place. Southeast Polk Ramification, 6th place. Ava, what's the story here?
I just feel like when you put some of Central Iowa's best groups in a pool, or like put it in a blender, like you guys were saying, and literally anything can come out. When it's the beginning of the season and you have no idea what these schools are bringing, it can be so hard to predict what'll happen. And after watching all the groups, I do think I'm not super surprised by the placements that they got. I am a little bit disappointed to see Urbandale so low, but I do think that they're just going to slow start to their season. I think the foundation is really there, and they'll continue to improve as the season goes on. But same with Spectrum. Spectrum swept, and I don't think they've done that at the beginning of a season in quite a few years. They've had a couple of director shifts and just not necessarily off seasons, but just seasons that are a little bit different for them. So it was super great to see them come out on top. I thought that their show was very interesting. It's not like a typical theme like you'd see. It's called My Day Will Come, I think, and it's about a jazz nightclub singer who messes up and has to become inspired to keep going. And I thought it was super great. I wasn't as turned off at the ballot at the end of the show as I thought I would be. But so maybe we'll be seeing more of that, or maybe that's just a couple groups that get to do that. Another shout out to Indianola because they freaking killed this competition. Their show, their set was super good, even so much better than it was at DMC last week. And even though they didn't take any of the captions, I think they're having a really great season, and I do really think it's only up from here. I hope they don't plateau, but we'll have to see. Valley and Vortex both also, they just were super great. I mean, there's a super solid, like all of 6 of the shows and finals were super solid from top to bottom. Like it really could have gone either way. You could have drawn names out of a hat and it would have made sense for the placements. So Southeast Polk also did a really good job sneaking into finals. And I know they were 4th in daytimes and they dropped a few. I think I could be reporting this entirely wrong, but I think it was mostly just a Vortex and a Southeast Polk switch. So shout out to Vortex in only their 2nd season. And as not the highest choir in that program, I think that they're doing really great things. And like I said, for almost every group, they'll continue to get better. But this was kind of a crazy competition to see because, I mean, a really good group got 1st and a really great group got 6th. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Absolutely. And kind of putting a bow on this one, we will save the ballot at the end of the show conversation for another week because frankly, this week is too busy for us to discuss any kind of controversial show design choices, whether they be good, bad, or somewhere in between. But something that I just wanted to point out is that this is the lowest placement for Urbandale since 2013. And that was when they missed finals at a Wheaton Warrenville South Choral Classic that was won by Waubonsie Valley and a Clinton Attaché group that finished in 2nd place there. So a couple of really big streaks snapped for both Cedar Rapids, Washington, and Urbandale this weekend. A couple of quick hits from throughout the competition weekend. Going right back to Omaha, we had a really big upset at the Burke Bonanza, and this was, I believe, the final set of competition results to come in on Saturday night. Sioux City East, the headliners, breaking out the brooms and grabbing a clean sweep of the 3 major captions over Lincoln Southwest, Elkhorn North, Sioux Falls, Washington, and Waconia. And the even more interesting part about this is that Sioux City East was at least 3rd in prelims and maybe farther down. So they jumped at least 2 places in finals, and they swept Lincoln Southwest, who swept Walky Northwest last week. Other hits here, Elkhorn North really coming out swinging in 3rd, and Waconia is 5th this weekend. So Waconia with a 4th and a 5th to start their season. Ethan or Ava, quick thoughts about what happened at Burke.
So whatever we thought the first 2 weeks of the season, first 3 weeks of the season, were kind of just thrown out the window. I mean, I was kind of getting ready for another Lincoln Southwest Masterclass season, and it still can be that way. It is still very much can be that way. But I did not expect Sioux City East to come out swinging like this. So just props off to them. And it's kind of weird seeing Waconia that low after recent years. But again, still a growing program. And I think that they will get better as the season goes along. And I believe they go up against some really great groups this next upcoming weekend. So I forgot where. I feel like we're going to be talking about it. So
we will be talking about it.
I was gonna say I saw it on the show sheet. I just forgot which one it is. So yeah, they'll have to get right back up on that horse again.
And moving along to Wisconsin, and another group that is near and dear to Ethan's heart, La Crosse River City Revolution, in only their 3rd competition as the group that they are, the combination of the former Grand Central Station and the Class Act groups. They took Best Vocals and took it all the way to a win at Milton's Rock the Rock competition, beating Troy Buchanan Express, who came home with Best Choreography in 2nd place in their first competition after the Andrew Drina. 3rd place, Sparta Upstage Adrenaline. Glenwood, Titan Fever, perhaps looking sporty. Again, we will talk about Glenwood later on in the show. Chesterton in 5th, other group that we will be talking about later on, and Sauk Prairie rounding out the finals there. Ethan, I know you saw Troy's show. Quick teaser before the rest of the season. How is Troy looking this year?
great. I feel like they're one of the most prepared choirs that come out of the gate every single year. I don't know how they do it. So I had to watch their show because I feel like I've seen their first show for the past maybe 7 years now since they've been coming to Mount Zion. That's what it kind of feels like. So I felt obligated to watch their show. Just a little teaser. Truck beds, good, fun nights. It's a great show. It will truly round into form, I believe.
One more, and we did have a comment kind of sort of about this. Anything about Hurricane Red Hot? Well, Red Hot cleaned house at Nitro. They weren't really the story there, but we would like to take a moment to talk about Winfield because that's a program that really showed up and showed out. Winfield General Admission won the small mixed finals, and Winfield Emerald Elegance, their women's group, placed second in the overall large mixed and single gender finals. So they beat Hurricane Heatwave and also Marion Harding Singers. So that looking ahead to West Virginia States this year, Hurricane Heatwave may have competition in the women's division. And also Winfield as a program notching a really good small mixed finals win over some other classic West Virginia staple programs like Sissonville and Herbert Hoover. And I believe St. Clairsville was in that small mixed finals as well. And just a quick shout to our small groups as well. We like to shine a light on some of those every once in a while. Van Meter Vocal Locomotion snuck into finals at Benton Community. And that was really big for Van Meter as a 2A choir. They beat a bunch of 3A choirs and a bunch of prep groups from big 4A schools as well. Bayport Pandemonious at 5th place and the overall best band award at New London. So pretty rare to see a group competing in the prep division in Wisconsin take home the overall best band award for the entire competition, and also not just make finals, but take 5th place. So shout out to Bayport. At the Lincoln High Invitational, the Lincoln Lynx Invitational, Standing Bear Renegades made finals in their first ever competition as a group. And I'm sure we'll probably talk about Standing Bear at some point this season. And also Plattsmouth out of the blue, making a nice finals appearance. And we got a quick comment in here about anything about West Salem. Altoona Locomotion made finals at West Salem, which is what was on the show sheet about West Salem Locomotion after a director change this year. Good for them to get an early finals appearance under their belt. Otherwise, that was Onalaska and the Minnesota groups. That was how West Salem went down. All right, moving on to the previews. And if you thought last week was crazy, this week is going to be just as crazy. We will start by doing a little bit of Iowa talk. We're going to go back to Des Moines. Walky Northwest, Linmar, and Urbandale all match up at the Johnston Showzam competition. Ava, we have not seen Linmar compete yet this year. Will that be a disadvantage for them?
I think it definitely could be, but I think knowing the program that Linmar is, knowing the powerhouse that they've always have been, I definitely think they don't have a whole lot to worry about in these other groups. They are, on the national scale, one of the best out there. So crazier things have happened. I don't want to jinx it because these past 3 weeks have been crazy. But I do think that hosting a competition and even just getting their show out on the stage was good. But I don't know if I can see Walky Northwest or Urbandale taking them this early in the season. Maybe if they competed at the end of the season, it'd be a different story. But I still think Linmar is going to take it.
If you had to put those three groups, Walky Northwest, Urbandale, and Linmar in order, where would you put them?
I would put Linmar at the top. I'd put Walky Northwest below them. And then just based on last week, I'd probably put Urbandale in third. Urbandale did beat Walky Northwest last year. I think it was at Johnston. But their show definitely needs to round into form a couple more weeks. I don't think that anything exceptional is going to happen in just 1 week of rehearsals. So I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Ethan, we're going to do a quick hit for another Nebraska competition. This is going to be Standing Bear, the Summit. Gretna and Lincoln East see each other for the first of 4 times this year. And Lincoln Southwest is going to be there as well. Where do each of these 3 stand? And quickly, if you had to put them in order, how would you put them?
So this is what, Lincoln Southwest third competition? This is
It
Gretna's first.
And it's Lincoln East second.
in second. So we're kind of all over the board
Lincoln,
here.
vocals and choreo. Yep. Lincoln East took vocals and choreo at Ralston. So
yeah, so it's kind of all over the board here. I mean, do you take the? It's kind of hard putting the group that's going out there for the first time at one. That show could potentially be number one out the gate. So, but we don't know. And a quick prediction. I mean, I'm just going to be different. I'm just going to go Lincoln East, Gretna, Lincoln Southwest. Probably wrong.
All right. Well, I will use the worst logic imaginable, which is based off of last year. But based off of last year and based off of knowing what their theme is this year, I'm going to have to put Gretna at the 1. And the Lincoln East, Lincoln Southwest battles, I think if both of those schools continue to push the envelope in terms of how good their shows are, I think that we really could have a true show choir rivalry budding a little bit about that west side over by Costco kids and that east side kids over by I don't know that big shopping center on O Street over on the east side of Lincoln. Lincoln kids, you know what I'm talking about, over on O Street there. I don't know. I feel like East and Southwest, they're going to flip flop whenever they see each other. So I think for this one, I'll put Southwest in second and East in third.
Friend of the program will be judging there. So if that swayed your Chris Miller, so if that swayed anything, it's kind of funny how much I've fallen in love with the Lincoln area. So I would love to see any top 3 of these choirs win. I would not care because I love all 3 of them. So.
And we're going to shoot just up I-80 to Omaha, and we're going to spend a few minutes talking about Millard West Music Lives. So in the mixed division here, Aberdeen Central Eagle Express from South Dakota, Brandon Brio from Mississippi, Lewis Central Corporation from Iowa, and then Smith Score Singers from Missouri, and then the Nebraska delegation of Millard North Infinity, Omaha South, the Ambassadors, and Westside ATSC. We have so many different choirs and so many different situations here. We've got a Brandon group that is taking its first of 3 Midwest trips and is debuting. We have a West Side group that will be going for its 3rd win in as many weeks. We have an Aberdeen Central group that was 5th at Sioux Falls Jefferson and spent a week rehearsing their show and is now coming back. And we have several other choirs who are here, there, and everywhere in between. So I'll toss this one to either Ethan or Ava. Who is the most compelling storyline here?
I feel like it's got to be Brandon coming out from the South, right? I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me, especially for a first competition. I now, you're more historian than I am, Will. When's the last time you've seen a Southern group come up this north for their first competition? Never?
Probably never. I feel like usually it's kind of those end of season things, like Homewood would go up to Wheaton or Petal would go up to Fairfield, or who was that random small mixed group that came up to Herscher a couple years ago? And if the Southern people, if there's anyone from the South in the chat right now, please remind me of which group I'm thinking of, because I honestly don't think they exist anymore. Something in me says it's Puckett Perception. But I could be totally wrong on that. But honestly, Ethan, I have to give Brandon a lot of credit for stepping up to the Midwest for their first competition of the year. And honestly, if you look at what their options were down south, it was Tallahassee, and the only large group they'd be competing against there is Auburn, and a very capable Auburn, because Auburn always comes out swinging. Or it would be Jackson Prep, where they would be seeing Madison Central, Northwest Rankin, and I believe Spain Park is going to be there as well. And if you're Brandon and you want to challenge yourself consistently, that kind of forces you to look at other options, doesn't it?
No, it definitely does. And I like that they're doing this. It's just so weird seeing them up north 3 times. Then the fact that this is the first one and then they have 2 more after this is insane. And I mean, they're going up against some of the best groups in the country this season. So it's going to be wild. I mean, another storyline that I'm staring at, of course, is the Doran Johnson Last Dance. I mean, how can you not love it? I mean, some of the stuff that they're posting on some of their accounts is just lights out, just the best. Love seeing that they won their first 2 competitions. And I'm going to be honest, I think it stays the same. I got to roll with West Side. I'm going to take a sweep here. Now, this is where it kind of gets confidential. I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Something in my brain says, like, you have to earn your stripes. That's just my Midwesterner. But, like, Brandon was here in the Midwest last year, and they took choreo from some fantastic groups. So I'm not knocking on them, but there's just something in my head that says first competition, way out of region, doesn't just sit right. And I don't know why. I'm taking a bid on Lewis Central. I think Lewis Central can show out at this competition. They kind of showed out at their past, I believe, 2 competitions.
Lewis Central has a pair of thirds this year.
Exactly. I think they're showing out. They've gone up against some really good choirs so far, so they know what competition is like. Then I have to throw Brandon in the 3, Millard North right behind, Aberdeen Central in the 5th, and Omaha South rounding out my finals. So it's really different, but I kind of love it. Will.
All right. Ava, any thoughts? Are you willing to make a prediction, or are you just going to sit tight and see how this one plays out?
I will make a prediction, but I will go on air and say that I am not a Nebraska expert and I'm not a Southern expert, so I don't know a lot about a lot of these groups. But based on what I have heard and what I have seen, because I've heard a little bit, especially about the Nebraska groups and good old showchoir.com. But I think I'll also put Westside first. I'll put Brandon second just because they seem like they'll be really good. Millard North in the 3rd. I think last weekend might have been a one-off for them. I think they got 5th at Gretna, but I have a feeling that they'll be good this weekend. Lewis Central in the 4. They have had a really good couple of weeks, but I don't know how they'll stack up against these Nebraska groups. And then Omaha South in 5 and Aberdeen Central in 6, just kind of rounding it out.
Ethan, you go back to the premise of Southern groups coming up this early. Last year was not the best start of the season for Brandon. They held first place in prelims at Jackson Prep and wound up getting swept by Jackson Academy. And Jackson Academy, that was probably the night for Jackson Academy out of the entire year last year, and we'll give them that. But especially when you're running into a West Side group that went to Wisconsin, went to Kansas, now they're final. This is their homecoming in week number 3 of the competition season for West Side. This is homecoming for them. I have to agree with you, and I don't think that Brandon takes either caption. I think we can take vocals off the table entirely because that is the West Side identity. And I really don't see a way that West Side drops that here. I think choreography is more on the table. I think especially if you bring in clinicians, the couple of weeks before and you really rehearse, I think choreography might be on the table. But again, when you're on comp 3 versus comp 1, I think there is a little bit of a difference there. With a critique, finals might be a different story. We might see a different Brandon in prelims versus a Brandon in finals, but I'll take West Side of the 1 with vocals and choreo and band. Brandon at the 2. I see where Ava is coming from, where she says that Millard North is due for one. I'll save my Millard North is due for one card when they go to Chesterton. I'll take Lewis Central for their 3rd straight 3rd place and make the numbers line up there. I'll take Millard North. I'll take Aberdeen Central at the 4. I'll take Millard North at the 5, and I will take Omaha South for their 2nd consecutive 6th place finish. We will move now to Missouri and the Pleasant Hill Battle of the Best. And you guys can go get your popcorn or whatever, because I am going to be reading off 26 choirs for this lineup here. In the 6A division, we have Jenks Trojaneers from Oklahoma. In the 5A division, Battle Battalion, Oak Park Oak Street Singers, Grain Valley Valley Voices, Carthage Soundwave, Platte County Sound Express, and Neosho Corlears. In 4A, Chillicothe Corlears, Warrensburg Soundwave, and Harrisonville Music Makers. In 3A, Oak Grove Impact and Cameron Lights Cameron Action. In 2A, Cole Camp Encore and Carrollton 9th Street Singers. In the women's division, Oak Grove Radiant, Grain Valley Amplified, Oak Park Treble Effects, Warrensburg Prism, Carthage Sweet Sounds. There we go. Platte County Sound Machine, Jenks Trojan Spirit, and Neosho Sugar and Spice. In the men's division, Platte County Sound Explosion, Jenks Airmen, and Neosho Phenomenon. And in the prep division, Harrisonville Forefront, We have 26 preliminary performances, 3 exhibitions, and 6 finalists for a total of 35 performances at this show choir competition. And if you are pretty much anyone in the Kansas City or Western Missouri show choir scene, you are at Pleasant Hill this weekend. Either Ethan or Ava, which of these names, because I know neither of you are incredibly well versed in Missouri, which of these names jumps off the page as someone to watch?
I feel like, I mean, to me, I think it's Jinx. I mean, the way they come out and start the season can determine a few things. Now, there's not a lot of groups from where they're from in that region, so they kind of have to travel back and forth between Texas, Missouri, so on and so forth. I feel like if they come out swinging, this comp is theirs. However, I think Neo Show is going to take it. I was so surprised when – now, I feel like the community could be playing me. Sometimes I feel like I'm left out on some things, and it's
the
like –
the community is playing you. I
Okay.
know what you're going to say, and the community is playing you.
like they know something that I don't.
The community is playing you in that the community is putting whatever school they are a student at, number one.
Yes. That's got to be the case, right? Because
Yes.
seeing Neo Show at third is one of the wildest things I've seen at this competition. And I mean, I'm like, I might be crazy. I had to like go back a few years just to like reassure myself. Yes, Neo Show is a very good group. I think they're going to take the top spot here. They're the one that captures my eye. But I think if Jinx comes out swinging, they could definitely take it. Oak Park always seems to rounding out every top 3 of mine in the Missouri area. So I'm going to put them at the 3. I have Carthage right behind them. Platte County, I have them one spot than what the community probably thinks they're going to get. And then I'm going to have Harrisville. They've made finals at this competition before. Yeah, I feel like they're really well in the region. Yeah, but this is going to be a historically long day. I could not be at this competition all day. That would be a pain. So shout out to all the judges, volunteers, and hosts for putting on an amazing venue for this many people. I couldn't imagine.
Ava, a couple of notes for you to chew on. The last time that Jenks competed, they won. So credit to Ethan there. Also, Carthage and Neosho were in the Kansas City area last weekend as well for the Blue Valley Tiger Takedown. And Neosho took second and Carthage was fourth. So sorting out all of this, is there any sort of confidence that you can put in any of the placements here?
I'm overwhelmed just looking by this list. If I'm being so honest, there is so much going on here. I just don't even know how they're going to be able to take that many groups, but I'm really intrigued to see how it will go. I don't feel confident enough about these groups to probably make a prediction, but I think it's great that they have all sorts, they have all the different levels of school size, which I think is really important in Missouri because there's a lot of small schools here that have show choir programs. So it will be really interesting to see how they stack against some of the bigger groups in finals.
Yeah, and one thing that I do want to point out as well is that we have multiple kind of quote-unquote new groups debuting at this competition. Jenks's men's group is new for this year, and Grain Valley's women's group has not been seen since before the pandemic. So credit to Michael Shimp at Jenks expanding that program to 3 choirs, and Carter Hintz at Grain Valley for finding the numbers to bring back a second choir at Grain Valley as well. This is kind of, for me, one of those deals where it's like, I think out of all of the groups there, I've seen no shows live from anybody besides the host school, who I saw at Wheaton last year. So it's kind of look back at previous showchoir.com results and see who I think mathematically is going to be the best, which I know is the worst logic because show choir is not mathematical at all. So I really can't go with that. But for my predictions, I will take Neosho at the 1. I'll give him vocals and choreo. I will go Jenks at the 2. I will actually take Platte County at the 3. I think that Platte County is a group that, because they are from Kansas City, which is perhaps not as active in show choir as perhaps Southwest Missouri, or doesn't have the name recognition with St. Louis and groups like Troy and Marquette. I think they get slept on a little bit, but I think they're an incredibly competent choir. Brian Von Glahn has done a lot of great things over at Platte County. So I'll take them at the 3. I'll take Neosho at the 4. I'll take Harrisonville at the 5. Harrisonville made finals at a very stacked Blue Valley competition last weekend. And Kip Matthew has the music makers rolling like it is just another great year for what I would argue is Missouri's best 4A show choir. They beat Westside Simply Irresistible last week, which to me means that Harrisonville is absolutely going to clear the entire single gender field here. And looking at that 6th spot, I am going to put Carthage Sweet Sounds in there. I feel like Sweet Sounds is due for a breakthrough. And does it feel good leaving some of those other groups like Oak Park and Battle and Grain Valley and Warrensburg out of finals? No, it doesn't. But when you only have 6 finalists, you only have 6 finalists. We're going to move on to the Sauk Prairie Executive Session Invitational in Wisconsin. In the mixed division, go ahead, grab another bag of popcorn because we have 18 choirs in the mixed division alone. Take a breath, read them off here. Chesterton, De Pere, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Eau Claire North, Fort Atkinson, Hamilton, Holman, Janesville, Craig, Mayville, Milton, New London, Plymouth, Reedsburg, Sparta, Toma, Waconia, Waller Catholic, and Waubonsie Valley. 8 of these groups already have finals appearances on the season. 6 will make finals. That means that out of the top division, you are turning away 12 choirs from finals, which is what the championship finals should be. It should be the best of the best. Ava, I'll toss this one to you. Couple of groups with pretty solid national name recognition here who may not have had the starts to the seasons that they would want to have.
Yeah, I think the first name that my eye goes to is Waconia. I know that historically they've always been up there with Minnesota's best choirs, and then when you go out of state, you don't really know what's going to happen, and they haven't they haven't had the best couple of weeks. I mean, I think their show is great. I just feel like they haven't been placing up against groups from South Dakota and Iowa and Nebraska as well as they would hope. So hopefully hanging out a little bit closer to their home turf will do them good, and having 2 competitions under their belt will be great. I'm also thinking it'll be a really good competition for Sparta. They did really, really well at Sioux Falls a couple weeks ago, and I'm not sure if they competed since then, but I think having Kevin Chase this year has done really great things for them, and I do think that they'll do very, very, very well at this competition. I wrote down some predictions. I am, again, not an expert in this world, but I think Waconia is due for their grand champions, so I do think that they're going to take that. I think I'll put Sparta in the 2. I think they're on a roll. Chesterton in the 3. Toma in 4. Toma has done really well these past few weeks, and I don't know if that's out of character for them or not, but I do think that they're going to continue to do well. De Pere in, did I say that right?
De Pere, yeah.
De Pere in 5th, and then I think New London is going to round out and get 6th. That might be a hot take, but I don't know.
But before I say anything, I'll toss this one to Ethan because I know he's going to have something interesting to say.
Well, I mean, so we have another Illinois choir on the board this season. Congratulations, Waubonsie Valley. Can't wait to see it. So looking at this, it's one of those competitions that I don't really know what's going to happen, but I like to put fun things. And if fun things happen, then I could be like, I told you so. So I got to go with Will's alma mater here. I'm going to go De Pere with the sweet. Or I'm going to go best choreo, best vocals. I'm going to go best band with Sparta, and they're going to be in the 2-hole. I don't know. This is where it gets crazy, folks. I'm going to go De Pere, Sparta. I'll have Waconia on my 3. I think Chesterton is still a great choir. I think having that first competition under their belt will help a lot. I can't turn down Waubonsie Valley, so I'm going to put them in the 5. And then I think Milton is having a comeback season. And now I know that leaves Toma out, but I think Milton is a really good choir on the rise. I believe Milton placed higher than Toma, so it wouldn't be something too out of the ordinary for this season. Yeah, that's just what it is. I'll just kick it off to the Wisconsin guy because why listen to the Illinois guy on a Wisconsin guy?
Yeah, competitions like this remind me of why I had so much fun running a Wisconsin-specific podcast for so long, because we have like 5 minutes for this segment on this show, and I could talk about this for 20 minutes. I think one of the biggest stories for me is that we have some groups who attended Milton Rock the Rock last weekend and are attending Sauk Prairie's Invitational this weekend, and may wind up going 0-2 on finals to start their season, and area of very competent groups. We have Dwight D. Eisenhower from Illinois. They do 2 competitions in Wisconsin this year, and then they'll head to Indiana for one at Northrop on February 1st before finally coming home to Illinois at Crete on February 8th. Fort Atkinson South High Street Singers is in this boat. Hamilton Synergy is in this boat. They won a competition last year. Janesville Craig Spotlighters, very much improved group from last year, could be in this boat. Plymouth Momentum could be in this boat. Reedsburg Corliers could be in this boat. That's an entire finals round in and of itself of groups that went to the same competitions 2 weeks in a row, and none of them made finals at either place. The other thing that we have going for us here is that there's just a lot of Wisconsin groups who are kind of enjoying a renaissance right now. Sparta's had a great year, like Ava mentioned. They took choreo from Onalaska the first weekend of the year at Holman. They did very well at Milton last weekend, 3rd with Best Band. They, Ava, I don't want to echo you, but picking up Kevin Chase, I think, has been a good thing for them. It's very rarely a bad thing for a program when they pick up Kevin Chase. I'll just put it that way. And one of Sparta's previous directors, when he was at a previous school, also had Kevin Chase choreograph for his groups. So certainly rekindling an old relationship there. Like Ethan said, Milton is a group that I've been telling people about since basically the end of the last offseason, saying that this is going to be a group that's a lot better than last week. You have DePere, who took vocals and choreo over Nina and Toma a week ago. DePere had a 30-point gap on the field in prelims, so it wasn't particularly close if things didn't tighten up for finals a little bit there. And then we have Chesterton and Waconia, and how do they factor in? And so at the risk of compromising my integrity, I think that I also have to pick my alma mater to win a competition because last year they went to a lot of competitions that didn't really have a deep field that we would really talk about on the podcast. So when given the first chance, I have to. I'll take DePere in first with vocals. I know that's the opposite of what some people may think. I'll take DePere first and vocals. I'll take Waconia second in choreo. I will take Sparta in third. I will take Chesterton in fourth. I will take Milton in fifth, and I will take Toma in sixth. And I feel terrible leaving Hamilton out of finals because that's a group that won last year. That's a group that I think is moving forward. That's a group that would be 0-2 for finals to start their season. I feel terrible leaving New London out of finals because I love that group. I love everybody there. I have for half a decade now, but their time will come. And the one positive is that Sauk Prairie always publishes prelim results on their websites. So we will see where all of these 18 choirs fall. That is the one thing that we will see. It is the top of the hour, so we will roll straight into our final competition that we will talk about on this episode. And it is the West Branch Saturday Night Jive, kind of going off of the beaten paths in Iowa, this one over by Iowa City. The field for this one in the 4A division, Bloomington Jefferson Connection from Minnesota, Cedar Rapids Jefferson Westside Delegation, Glenwood Titan Fever from Illinois, Indianola Side 1, Western Dubuque 5th Avenue. In the 2A/3A division, Anamosa Sadie Street Singers, Benton Community Celebration Co., Des Moines Christian Light Inc., Marion New Creation, and West Liberty Voices Unlimited. Both of the Jeffersons and Glenwood will have groups in the women's division, and Benton, Des Moines Christian, and Indianola will duke it out in the prep division. Ava, you are the resident Iowa expert among us. This is a lineup that feels a little bit cobbled together, and I'm enjoying it because we're seeing a lot of groups that may not go against each other a lot.
Yeah, I think that the division of the 4A and also 2A, 3A groups is really, really good. I think that there's maybe some smaller schools here or some smaller programs that might not always get the recognition they deserve. So I think that it's really great that we're shouting them out on the podcast tonight, and that they'll have a chance to hopefully do really well at these competitions. I know Cedar Rapids Jefferson has missed finals too many times this season. Yeah, and also Indianola's on a roll, so I'm excited to see what they do for week 3. I'm just going to get right into my predictions because the middle gets a little bit messy. But I have Indianola in the 1. I think that they're going to go for a grand champion. I think they won this competition last year, so I definitely think they're going to do it again.
That was their big coming out party last year.
Yes. I'm going to put Des Moines Christian in the 2. There's just something about them. They – Will, I see your face. They are tiny but mighty.
Ethan will have words for you.
They come from a small school, but I do think that they do a really good job at what they do. I'll put Glenwood in the 3rd. I don't know too much about them, but I think they'll be good. Marion in the 4. They're another small school that you really can't count out. They do really good things. I'll put Western Dubuque in 5 and Cedar Rapids Jefferson in 6. I know I'm pretty sure they both missed finals last week, but I think in a smaller pool with some less super competitive groups, I think that they'll be able to pull in and do well in finals.
Ethan, are you going to let Glenwood Titan Fever disrespect stand like that?
I mean, it's not disrespect. She has the right to her own opinion, so it is what it is. I mean, I could see them going anywhere from possibly 1 to, I don't know, maybe even 4. I don't really know. So, however, if there is one Indianola fan on this earth, it's me. I'm going to go Indianola in the 1. I'm going to have them sweep because why not? Between Bloomington, Jefferson, and Glenwood, I think it might be tight, but I just got to give the nod to the Illinois group. So bias is in my prediction here. I'm going to go Glenwood in the 2, Bloomington, Jefferson in the 3. I just felt fun. Why not put Marion in the 4? They're a very strong choir. I feel like them, DMC, and Benton actually have like a really good shot at making finals at this competition. And I feel like one of them could place top 4 here, and I believe that could be Marion. Cedar Rapids, Jefferson right underneath them. And then rounding it out, I'm going to have Des Moines Christian Light Inc. So those are my predictions for West Branch. Saturday Night Jive, another great competition name.
Yes. Well, and this lines up with their group name, Christopher Jive in the Uptown 45, which is also Sidetrack, one of the most phenomenal group names. And, the backstory is that it's director Christopher Reed, who's been the only show choir director at West Branch forever, and his group of 45 kids each year. Yeah, so that's a very personal name at West Branch. So just this whole event, and previously before the pandemic, this was where kind of a bunch of 3A and 2A schools would go to sort it out amongst themselves. This competition has drawn a lot of big names after the pandemic, so a lot of firepower here. I will take Indianola. Shocker. I will give Indianola vocals and choreo. I will give Glenwood band in second place. I think I was impressed with how well Glenwood did at Milton. I think the year-to-year improvement at Titan Fever is very real. I am excited to see them later in the season because I know that I will be seeing at least one of their shows in person. I will give Des Moines Christian the 3. Maybe I am allowing myself to be influenced by Ava here, but I think that if you look at Light Inc., this is their debut competition of the year. But if you look at the last 3 competitions they have been to, at Dallas Center Grimes, they were second to Ankeny, and I will offer no further comments on that based off of the audience of this podcast. And at Atlantic, they won the event, and at Indianola, they won the event. So in the last 3 competitions, the only group Des Moines Christian has lost to is Ankeny. So I will give Des Moines Christian the 3. I will put Marion at the 4. I will take Bloomington Jefferson at the 5, and I will go Benton Community at the 6. Shout out to John Hayden, who has been at Benton Community for something like 29 years or something like that. So I saw a Celebration Co. show in 2023, I think it was, and was super impressed by it. So that leaves Cedar Rapids Jefferson out. That leaves Western Dubuque out. You're going to feel bad leaving choirs out of finals, but at the end of the day, people are going to be out. That's why there are 6 finalist spots. I think that is going to be it for tonight. I think that that is enough show choir discussions. Quick comment about Altoona. That'll be a nice matchup at the top. After that, I think there might be a little mixing it up among some smaller programs as well. So we will see you right back here Monday 7 Eastern, 6 Central next week. I don't know if it's possible to get more crazy than last week, but
True.
we will try and figure out if it has. Ava, thank you once again for being a guest. We really appreciate you hopping on for a second week here, and hopefully we will see you later on in the season as well. For Ethan, I am William. Have a great evening, everyone. Have a great week and enjoy your show choir Saturday.